Now students, we will move to the next part. Student, just now I have explained you the whole monohybrid cross. I have explained you the F1 generation, F2 generation, Punnett square, phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio. Now we will come to the conclusions. The conclusion which are made by Mendel, and on the basis of monohybrid cross, Mendel gave two laws. One of the law is law of dominance and another is law of segregation. Both the laws are mentioned in NCERT. So always remember, on the basis of monohybrid cross, two laws are given. One is law of dominance and another one is law of segregation. In law of dominance, two conclusions are there. One is conclusion of paired factors. Another one is conclusion of dominance. Both the conclusion are studied in one law, that is law of dominance, and law of segregation means conclusion of segregation. So first of all, I am going to explain you the law of dominance, and in law of dominance, first of all, I am going to explain you the conclusion of paired factors. So student, what do you mean by paired factors? According to Mendel said, according to Mendel, characters are controlled by discrete unit called factors. What Mendel say? Mendel say that each character is controlled by factors, and these factors are always occur in pair. As I have also mentioned you that in diploid individual, each gene has two alleles. They can be either similar or dissimilar, but always in pair. So Mendel has also said that each character is controlled by a discrete unit called factors, and these factors occur in the form of pairs. You can also say if tall plant is there, then tall is due to capital T or capital T small t. You can see similar or dissimilar, but factor should be in pairs. Here also dwarf means small t. So this is about the conclusion of paired factors. Now at second we will move to the next part of law of dominance, which is conclusion of dominance. What do you mean by dominance? So here students, dominance can be easily understood by the F1 generation. This thing I will explain you. In F1 generation, you can see two dissimilar factors are there. In F1 generation of monohybrid cross, two dissimilar factors are there, and out of these two dissimilar factors, one is dominant, another one is recessive. I can also explain you with the help of diagram. You can see this is the F1 generation, and F1 generation, two dissimilar factors are there. One factor is dominant, one factor is capital T, and another factor is small t. And here capital T small t is tall, means the factor which can express itself over the another factor, that factor is known as dominant factor, and this is known as law of dominance. So you can see in F1 generation, from law of dominance you can also understand like this. In F1 generation, you can see in this F1 generation denotes only one parent, and the parent which is denoting by F1 generation, that parent is dominant parent. You can see here the F1 generation representing this pure tall. Here F1 generation is representing the tall plant, and this tall is dominant. So this is all about the law of dominance. We can also say the here F1 generation resembles only one of the parent, that is dominant parent. So always remember, what do you mean by conclusion of dominance? In F1 generation, the allele which is going to express is known as dominant allele. The one which is not going to express itself is recessive allele. In dominance, F1 generation resemble only one of the parent, and that parent should be dominant parent. And if we talk about exception of dominance, then there are two exception of dominance which are going to discovered at the time of post Mendelism, means after the work of Mendelism. These particular exceptions are discovered. One of the exception is incomplete dominance, and another exception is co-dominance. Now we'll move to the next part. Students, now I am going to explain you the next law, which is law of segregation. So what do you mean by law of segregation? First of all, here you can see again the monohybrid cross is there. Pure tall plant, pure dwarf plant, F1 generation, gametes are formed, and again you can see a checker box is there, and this checker box you can see pure tall, impure tall, and again a dwarf plant is there. Now what is segregation? Student, if you see this F2 generation, then in F2 generation you can see the dwarf plant is observed in F2 generation, but this dwarf plant is not observed in F1 generation. You can see in F1 only tall plants are there, but dwarf plants are observed in F2 generation. In parental plants, dwarf is there. Dwarf is not present in F1, but again it is present in F2. So this appearance of dwarf plants, listen carefully student, this appearance of dwarf plants in F2 generation shows that here the particular factors are separated, means you can see the gametes are separated, gametes are not mixed. Suppose if gametes are mixed and if the factors are mixed, then this dwarf plant cannot be formed. So always remember, appearance of dwarf plants in F2 generation shows that factors remain separated, remain segregated, and this is known as law of segregation. I can also explain you with the statement, dwarfness which appears in F2 shows that allele do not show any blending. Student, because if allele shows blending, then here dwarfness cannot be occur. If particular blending occurs, then only the tall plant is going to form, but here you can see the dwarf plants appear, and due to this dwarf plant it is clear that alleles do not show blending, and this is the law of segregation. So you can say alleles do not show any blending, and both the alleles are recovered as such in F2 generation, though one of these is not seen in F1 generation. Students, if we talk about this F2 generation, then you can see in this F2 generation heterozygous tall, this heterozygous tall shows the dominance and this dwarfness shows the segregation. So suppose if someone asks that this particular F2 generation denotes what, so in F2 generation both the things can be observed, dominance is also observed and segregation is also observed, but remember this dwarfness, the appearance of dwarfness shows the law of segregation. Now what is the statement of law of segregation? You can say during gamete formation, you can see here the heterozygous tall is there and gametes, two gametes are there. In one gamete capital T will come and in another gamete small t will come. So this is a random process. You can say this is a random process. In any gamete capital T will come and in any gamete small t will come. Students, if we talk about segregation, then segregation can also understood if suppose if we flip a coin, then sometimes capital T, sometimes head will come or sometimes tail will come. This is known as separation, means random distribution is there. So statement is during gamete formation, the unit factors of a pair segregate randomly and transfer inside different gamete. You can see at the time of gametogenesis, in this gamete capital T is there, its probability is 50% and small t probability is also 50%. So this 50% probability means random distribution or segregation. So always remember this, and each gamete receives only one factor of a pair. You can see gamete contains either dominant factor or gamete contains either recessive factor, and this is the reason that this law is also known as law of purity of gametes, because gametes are always pure. Now students, according to the law of segregation, if we talk about law of segregation, this law of segregation is also universal in nature. Why it is universal in nature? Because chromosomes always segregate at the time of meiosis. That is, if we talk about anaphase 1, in anaphase 1 segregation is always observed. So always remember, segregation is universal law. I will explain you with the help of diagram. You can see this is the metaphase, the chromosomes arranged in a metaphase plate or equatorial plate. When the anaphase 1 will come, then you can see the segregation is going to occur. In this segregation you can see the chromosomes are moving towards the different pole, and this is the known as segregation, and this is the reason that segregation is known as universal law. But rarely, sometimes exception of segregation also occurs due to abnormal meiosis, that is known as non-disjunction of chromosome, but that occurs rarely. So exception of segregation is non-disjunction of chromosomes. So students, now we are going to see the gamete formation. Till now I have explained you the conclusion of segregation. Now students, I am going to explain you that how gamete formation takes place and how you have to form the gametes, because many times in this chapter gamete formation are there. So now I am going to explain you the gamete formation. Student, gamete formation means that we are talking about meiosis, means at the time of meiosis, because this gamete formation process is the process of meiosis. Gamete formation means at the time of meiosis we are talking about. You can see this is the capital T, capital T. Capital T, capital T means diploid, and from this diploid when gametes are going to form, then you can see the two gametes are going to form. One is capital T and another one is capital T. You can see the haploid, and always remember student, gamete is always haploid. And from the Mendelism also, from the segregation also, I have explained you that gametes are always pure. they can be dominant also, they can be recessive also, but gametes are always pure. So you can see in two gametes are going to form, one is capital T and another one is capital T. But now students, in this part I am going to give you a formula, and formula is of types of gamete. Always remember student, the formula is of types of gamete, and types of gamete formula is 2 to the power n. This is the formula, where n is number of heterozygous pair. Always remember student, this formula is of types of gamete. This formula is not the number of gametes. This formula is types of gamete, 2 to the power n. N means the number of heterozygous pair. Here I can show you that how this formula works. You can see this is capital T, no heterozygous pair is there. So 2 to the power 0 means only one type of gamete. So you can see the gametes are 2, but type is 1. This gamete is also capital T and this gamete is also capital T. So in this part the formula is of types of gamete. Formula is 2 to the power n, where n is the number of heterozygous pair. Now student, we are also going to see the fork line method. And what do you mean by fork line method? With the help of this method, I am going to explain you that how gametes are formed and what are the different types of gametes. So always remember, fork line method is used to find out the composition of factors, inside the gametes. This is the reason we use the fork line method. And student, what happens in this fork line method and how to draw this fork line method? So always remember, one of the very easy method, if homozygous is there, then you have to draw the line, and if heterozygous is there, then you have to draw this fork like structure. How to use this fork line structure, how to find the types of gametes, I am explaining you with the help of some questions. You can see, first of all, this capital A is there. Capital A is homozygous. You can see the value of n is 0 because n means the number of heterozygous pair. Here no heterozygous pair is there, so you can say n is equals to 0. 2 to the power 0 means 1. Only one type of gamete is going to form, and this is homozygous. So for here, line will be formed like this. You can see a line is there. We will draw a line, and at that point of the line we will draw one A. So only one type of gamete will form, that is capital A. Student, always remember, we are talking about the type of gamete. We are not focusing on the number of gamete. Again, capital A, small a. You can see capital A, small a. This is heterozygous. N is equal to 1 because one heterozygous pair is there. This is one heterozygous pair. 2 to the power 1 means two gamete will be going to form, and in this way you can see one is the capital A and another one is the small a. See, these two types of gametes is going to form, and we have drawn the fork because heterozygous is there. On this part we will write capital A, and on this part we will write small a, and you can see gametes are always haploid, always pure. One consists capital A and one consists small a. If we write the probability, then probability of this gamete is 1 by 2, and this again will 1 by 2. This is also a law of segregation, 1 by 2. 1 by 2 means 50%, and here also 1 by 2 means 50%. Now students, we will move to the next part, which is very important. Student, till yet we have seen, if we talk about capital T small t, then this capital T small t means monohybrid. But if suppose we will write capital A, capital B, small b, then in this thing you can see in this genotype two hybrids are there, two heterozygous are there. So this is known as dihybrid. So now I will explain you that how the gametes of dihybrid are going to form, and after that we will start the dihybrid cross. So suppose this is a capital A, small a, capital B, small b. You can see two hybrids are there, or you can also say two monohybrids are there. When two monohybrids are there, then this is dihybrid. Value of n is equals to 2. Here n is equals to 2 means 2 to the power 2 is equals to 4 gametes are there. This n is small n, and you can see here capital N is written, but it is small n. It is small n. N is equals to 2. 2 to the power 2 means 4 gametes are going to form, and how these gametes are going to form? We will form with the help of fork line method. First you will see capital A, small a, this is heterozygous. So first we will form the fork like this. Like this the fork will form. Here we will write the capital A, here we will write the small a. Now again we will watch, again capital B, small b is there. Capital B, small b is homozygous or heterozygous? This is heterozygous. So again we will form the fork. In this way you can see at this side of the fork capital B is written, here small b is written, again capital B is written, and again small b is written. Now you can see the type of gametes. First gamete is capital A, capital B. second gamete is capital A small b, third gamete is small a capital B, and fourth gamete is small a small b. You can here also see, here also the gametes are haploid and gametes are pure. How the gametes are pure? You can see only one factor of a pair is present, only capital A and capital B is present. So gametes are pure and the probability are 1 by 4, 1 by 4, 1 by 4 means 25% probabilities are there. So in this way the gametes are going to form. So the types of gametes formula is 2 to the power n, and fork line method is also there. For homozygous we will draw the line, and for heterozygous we will draw the fork. So this is whole about the gamete formation. So students, till now I have explained you the monohybrid cross, conclusion of monohybrid cross, and the fork line method. Now we will move further. So students, till now we have discussed about the terminology of genetics. We have also discussed about monohybrid cross, conclusion of monohybrid cross. After that I have explained you the gamete formation, and I have also explained you the fork line method, and with the help of fork line methods I have explained you that how the gametes are formed. Now students, I will tell you the some important formulas which are for selfing. Some important formulas for selfing. You can see the three formulas are there. The types of phenotypes, which is 2 to the power n, types of genotypes, which is 3 to the power n, and number of zygote, which is 4 to the power n. Student, these formulas I have also told you at the time of monohybrid cross, when I have discussed the results of F2 generation of monohybrid cross. At that time also I have also told you these formulas. Now we will quickly revise the formulas, that how these formulas are applied. So students, you can see the formulas. In these formulas, the n is the number of heterozygous pair, or we can also say the number of hybrid character. So students, first of all let's apply these formulas to the monohybrid. Students, always remember that these formulas are applied only for selfing, and presently in this table I am going to explain you the results of F2 generation. So let's quickly start. You can see the monohybrid, this is the monohybrid, capital A and small a, one hybrid is there. So here n is equals to 1. So types of phenotypes 2 to the power n is equals to 1. So ultimately the two phenotypes will going to occur. And if you remember, then in F2 generation of monohybrid cross, two phenotypes are observed. One is tall and another is dwarf. Three genotypes are also going to observed. Three genotypes are also observed at the time of F2 generation of monohybrid cross. Those are capital T, capital T small t, and small t. Likewise, 4 zygotes will observed. So you can see by these formulas we can quickly answer the questions about phenotypes, genotypes, and zygotes. Now students, let's apply these formula to the dihybrid. Students, I have not taught you about the dihybrid, but then also with the help of these formulas you can quickly find out the results of F2 generation of dihybrid cross. So let's see. In dihybrid, here you can see two hybrids are there. One is capital A small a and another is capital B small b. So value of n is equals to 2. So 2 to the power 2 means 4 phenotypes will come. 9 genotypes will come, 3 to the power n, and from 4 to the power n, 16 zygotes will come in F2 generation of dihybrid cross. So students, you can see, without understanding the dihybrid cross, with the help of these formulas you can easily calculate the answer. Now we will move to the trihybrid. Student, Mendel has not performed the trihybrid cross, and trihybrid is also not mentioned in our syllabus, but then also for your practice I am taking the trihybrid. Why I am taking the trihybrid? Because for your practice you can see with the help of these formulas you can also find out the results for trihybrid. Now in trihybrid you can see 3 hybrids are there, so n is equals to 3. So ultimately 8 phenotypes, 27 genotypes, and 64 zygotes will come in the case of F2 generation of trihybrid cross. So student, this is all about the 3 formulas, but remember one thing, all the 3 formulas are valid only for selfing. So students, now I will start the dihybrid cross. So let's see what is dihybrid cross. Students, before starting dihybrid cross, first of all, let's compare between the monohybrid and dihybrid cross. So student, what is monohybrid cross? When we study the inheritance of one character at a time, that cross is known as monohybrid cross. But in dihybrid cross, we are considering two characters at a time. We are studying the inheritance of two characters at a time. Mendel conducted both type of crosses. Mendel also conducted monohybrid cross. Mendel also conducted dihybrid cross. But if you talk about monohybrid cross, then Mendel conducted all the 7 types of monohybrid cross. But on the other hand, Mendel conducted only few dihybrid cross. All dihybrid crosses are not conducted by Mendel. Mendel only conducted few dihybrid cross. And why Mendel conducted dihybrid cross? Because Mendel wanted to observe. The effect of one character over another character during inheritance. Due to this reason, Mendel conducted few dihybrid cross. So let's start the dihybrid cross. In dihybrid cross, we are going to take the two characters. So let's start the dihybrid cross which was performed by Mendel. In this dihybrid cross, Mendel take the two characters. First is seed shape and another is seed color. And if you talk about these two characters, then according to S. Blixt, remember students, I am talking about S. Blixt. What S. Blixt has found out? S. Blixt had concluded that the genes of the 7 characters located on particular chromosomes. So according to the S. Blixt, you can say seed shape is located on chromosome number 7 and seed color was located on chromosome number 1. So students, Mendel selected two characters for his dihybrid cross. One is seed shape and another one is seed color. And you can see Mendel was lucky in selecting these characters. Students, Mendel was lucky in selecting these characters. Why Mendel was lucky? Because you can see both these characters are located on different chromosomes, and because these characters are located on different chromosomes, that is the reason that Mendel concluded the results of independent assortment from this dihybrid cross. But suppose if Mendel selected those characters which are located on same chromosomes and very near to each other, then Mendel would not able to conclude the independent assortment. Mendel will fail in this dihybrid cross. So you can see Mendel was lucky at this time. Mendel did not knew about the chromosome, but then also Mendel selected those characters which are located on different chromosomes. So let's start the dihybrid cross. If you talk about the seed shape, then you know that seed shape has two contrasting traits and seed color has also the two contrasting traits. Seed shape has one trait is round and one trait is wrinkle. You can see round is dominant, so denoted by capital R. Wrinkle is recessive, so denoted by small r. These wrinkle seed shape are due to the absence of starch branching enzyme. Now look at the seed color. Seed color has also two contrasting traits. One is yellow, another one is green. Yellow is dominant, so denoted by capital Y. Green is recessive, so denoted by small y. So with these two characters, let's start the dihybrid cross. But students, before start the dihybrid cross, first of all, I will again explain you the techniques of Mendel. If you are aware, then Mendel made 3 techniques. First technique is selection of pure parental plants. Second one is hybridization by emasculation and bagging, and third one is selfing of F1 hybrid. So with the help of these 3 techniques, Mendel performed the dihybrid cross. So let's start the dihybrid cross. You can see in dihybrid cross, first of all, selection of pure parental plants are done. You can see here homozygous plants are taken, round yellow. You can see capital R, capital Y, capital Y. Here also homozygous plants are taken, wrinkle green, small r and small y. In this way, Mendel started his dihybrid cross. Now the cross is performed, hybridization is there. First of all, we will see the gamete formation. From this round yellow, one type of gamete will form, which is capital R, capital Y, and from that wrinkled green, one type of gamete is going to form, which is small r, small y. Now, after the fusion of gametes, what happened? After the fusion of gametes, F1 generation will going to form, and this round yellow phenotype is going to appear, and you can see this round yellow is hybrid form. You can see two hybrids are there, and that is the reason this cross is known as dihybrid, because you can see in F1 generation heterozygous form appears, and you can see this F1 generation resemble the one of the parent, and that parent is dominant parent. And you can also understand that from this dihybrid cross also, from F1 generation of this dihybrid cross, you can also conclude the law of dominance. You can see this F1 generation denotes the dominant parent, means the law of dominance is also concluded from this dihybrid cross. Now after F1 generation, what happened? After F1 generation, Mendel performed the selfing of F1 hybrid, and from that selfing F2 generation is going to perform. So let's do the selfing of F1 hybrid. So students, let's start the selfing of F1 hybrid. You can see here the F1 hybrid is there. Selfing means the cross between same genotypes. So you can see two same genotype is there. You can see here capital R small r, capital Y small y. A dihybrid is there, and from this dihybrid 4 gametes are going to form. You can also see the 4 gametes. One is capital R capital Y, second is capital R small y, third is small r capital Y, and fourth is small r small y. These gametes are formed with the help of Falkland method, and I have explained you the Falkland methods, and I have also explained that how these 4 type of gametes are formed. Now again, from that capital R small r capital Y small y, from that dihybrid also the 4 type of gametes are going to form. So let's see again, the 4 type of gametes are there. 4 gametes here and 4 gametes here. So ultimately 4 into 4, 16 zygotes will going to form in the F2 generation. So always remember, in F2 generation of dihybrid cross, 16 zygotes are going to form. 16 zygotes are going to form. Now students, let's move to the Punnett square. Let's move to the checkerboard. In checkerboard, I will explain you that how these 16 zygotes are going to formed. So this is the Punnett square. In this checkerboard, you can see the 16 zygotes are there. Here you can see the 4 gametes, and here also you can see the 4 gametes are there. In this part, you can see here the round yellow plant is going to form. This is also round yellow. This is also round yellow. This is also round yellow. These are also round yellow. These are round yellow, and this is also round yellow. So you can see out of these 16, 9 are round yellow, and this is particular. If we talk about this, then this is wrinkle. This is small r means wrinkle, and this is wrinkle yellow. This is also wrinkle yellow, and this is also wrinkle yellow. So wrinkle yellow are 3. And now look to this. This is particular round green, and this is also round green, and this is also round green. So 3 are round green, and this one is wrinkle green. So out of the 16 particular, if we observe the phenotypes, then you can see in F2 generation of dihybrid cross, 4 phenotypes are going to observe. So what will be the phenotypic ratio? Let's see the phenotypic ratio. Now I will explain you the phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio. So let's check the phenotypic ratio. If we look at the phenotypic ratio, then you can see out of 16, 9 are round yellow, 3 are round green, 3 are wrinkle yellow, and 1 is wrinkle green. So phenotypic ratio will be 9:3:3:1, and 4 types of phenotypes are formed in this F2 generation of dihybrid cross. Now students, let's check the genotypic ratio. What will be the genotypic ratio of this dihybrid cross? Students, if we look at this dihybrid cross, this checkerboard, then you can see this is the capital R, capital Y, capital Y. This is the one genotype, the capital R, capital Y, only one time this is coming. This is the wrinkle green, only one time this genotype is coming. And here you can see this is capital R, capital Y, small y. This is also the same, this is also the same, and this is also the same. So you can see this dihybrid heterozygous is repeated 4 times. So in this way, we will write the genotypic ratio. So the genotypic ratio will be, this is 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, 2, 1, 2, 1. So if you talk about the phenotypic ratio will be 9, 3, 3, 1, and genotypic ratio will be 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, 2, and 1, 2, 1. And you can see the 9 types of genotypes are formed in dihybrid cross in F2 generation. So students, this is about the dihybrid cross. And dihybrid cross, you will learn about the phenotypic ratio. You have also seen the genotypic ratio. 4 phenotypes, 9 genotypes, and 16 zygotes are formed in this dihybrid dihybrid cross. Now students, we will move to the conclusion of dihybrid cross, that what conclusion Mendel has observed from this dihybrid cross. Students, if we talk about conclusion, then on the basis of monohybrid cross, Mendel concluded two results. One is law of dominance and second is law of segregation. And from this dihybrid cross, Mendel concluded the new law, which is law of independent assortment. And how Mendel concluded this independent assortment? So Mendel observed this phenotypic ratio. Mendel observed this phenotypic ratio, that in this phenotypic ratio, this round green and wrinkle yellow, this round green and wrinkle yellow phenotype which is observed in F2 generation is not present in the parental combination. You can see the parental combination here. You can see in parental combination, if you see the parental combination, then in the parental combination, if you look at the parental combination, then here in the parental combination you can see round yellow and wrinkle green are there. But if we talk about the F2 generation, then here in F2 generation, round green and wrinkle yellow are also present. Okay, round yellow, wrinkle green are present, but with them round green and wrinkle yellow are also present, and these are non-parental combination, and Mendel called them the recombinants. These non-parental combination are called as recombinants, and Mendel said that these non-parental combination, these recombinants appear due to the independent assortment. Mendel said that you can see the round is independent. It can comes with yellow, it can also comes with green. Wrinkle is also independent. Wrinkle can comes with yellow, wrinkle can also comes with green. This means that one character does not affect the another character during inheritance, and this is the law of independent assortment. So students, let's start the conclusion which was obtained by dihybrid cross, which is law of independent assortment. So the law of independent assortment. So students, before discussing this law, let's understand one line, which is dihybrid cross is a product of two monohybrid crosses. Always remember, dihybrid cross is a product of two monohybrid crosses. Means when two monohybrid crosses gets multiplied, then ultimately the results of dihybrid cross is going to observed. And with this line, I am going to explain you the law of independent assortment. So let's check this out. First of all, we will take the one character. We all know, first of all, we will take the one character which is seed color. Suppose if we are studying the inheritance of seed color, then this cross is known as monohybrid cross. If seed color monohybrid cross is performed, then in F2 generation 3:1 ratio will become. So you can see 3 yellow, 1 green will be observed. Let's take another character. Another character is seed shape. If only seed shape is studied, then again in F2 generation 3:1 will come. So you can see 3 round and 1 wrinkle result is going to observe. If students, suppose if we multiply both these results, if we multiply this result and this result, then what you will see? You will see this phenotype is going to appear, and this is 9331. This is the phenotype of F2 generation of dihybrid cross. Means this line is verified that dihybrid cross is a product of two monohybrid crosses. Now students, after this checkerboard, after this particular phenotypic ratio, again we will look to this seed color, that what is the seed color. You can see, if you look at the seed color, then how many are yellow? You can see 9 plus 3, 12 are yellow. How many are green? You can see 3 plus 1, 4 are green. So again the 3:1 ratio is coming. So means after the dihybrid cross also, this seed color is maintained, the ratio 3:1 is maintained. And if you look at the seed shape, then here also you can say 12 are round, 4 are wrinkle. Again the 3:1 ratio is coming. So you can see both the characters, seed color and seed shape, both are maintained after the dihybrid cross also. And this thing proves that seed color does not affect seed shape during the inheritance. Means both the characters are independent to each other, and this is the conclusion which is known as law of independent assortment. Now let's move to the theory of independent assortment, that what this law states. So you can see this law concluded from the F2 generation of dihybrid cross. And according to NCERT, if we talk according to NCERT, then this law states that when two pair of traits are combined in a hybrid, then segregation of one pair of character is independent to the other pair of character. This is about the independent assortment. So students, I have explained you about the independent assortment. Very simple line is there for independent assortment. You can also say that during inheritance, one character does not affect the another character. This is all about the independent assortment. But students, independent assortment is conditional law. If one condition is there, then only independent assortment is occur. And what is that condition? That condition also I have explained you at the starting of the dihybrid cross, that luckily Mendel selected those characters which are located on different chromosomes. So this is the condition of independent assortment. That what is the condition? That assortment occurs when non-alleles are located on different homologous chromosomes, or you can also say the two characters which are taken in dihybrid cross, if those characters are located on different chromosome, then only assortment can occur. If these characters are located on same chromosomes, then assortment cannot occur. Then the exception of assortment will occur, and that exception is known as linkage. So students, always remember, linkage is the exception of independent assortment, and both linkage and assortment is in either or condition. Means if assortment occurs, then linkage is not going to occur, and if linkage occurs, then assortment is not going to occur. So always remember, the linkage is the exception of independent assortment. Now students, I will explain you this condition which is that assortment occurs when non-alleles are located on different homologous chromosomes. I will explain you this condition with the help of a very good diagram. So you can see in this diagram here, student, you can see this is a homologous pair and this is also a homologous pair. Here you can see capital R, small r, these are the alleles. Capital Y, small y, these are also alleles, and you can see capital R, small r, these are the slightly different forms of same gene located on same locus of homologous. Similarly, capital Y, small y, so both are alleles. Now we will look to the non-alleles. You can see capital R, capital Y, non-alleles which are located on different chromosome, small r, capital Y, small r, small y. So you can see the non-alleles are located on different homologous chromosomes, and this means then the condition for assortment is valid. Now we will move to the gamete formation. You can see 4 gametes are there. In first gamete, suppose capital R is going to come, then with capital R, which is going to come, capital Y or small y? So it is independent. With capital R, capital Y can also come, and small y also can come in a gamete. You can see with capital R, capital Y is going to come, and here with capital R, small y is going to come. Here small r, capital Y, here small r, small y. So you can see capital R is independent. It can comes with capital Y also, and it can comes with small y also, and this denotes the independent assortment. So you can see the 4 gametes are there, each having probability 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. So you can see gametes having proportion 1:1, 1:1, 1:1. In this proportion the gametes are there, and the percentage here is also 25%. So this is the condition of independent assortment. Now students, we will move to the next slide. Now student, you can see a diagram is there, and this diagram also depicts the law of independent assortment. This diagram is given in NCERT, so I will explain you this diagram. Here you can see this orange chromosome is with green chromosome, and here you can see this yellow one is with red, and segregation occur. Orange will goes with green and yellow will goes with red. This is the possibility 1. Suppose let look to the another possibility. What happens at another possibility? You can see here orange is with red, particular yellow is with green, and here you can see orange goes with red and yellow goes with green. Here you can see orange goes with green, and here orange goes with red, means the particular character, particular genes are showing independent assortment. So both these possibilities, with both these possibilities, we can easily understand the concept of independent assortment. So till now students, I have explained you both type of crosses. First is monohybrid cross, and second one is dihybrid cross. In monohybrid cross, study of inheritance of one character is going to occur. In dihybrid cross, study of 2 characters is going to occur. Study of inheritance of 2 characters is going to occur. With the help of monohybrid cross, 2 conclusions are drawn. First is law of dominance, second is law of segregation, and with the help of dihybrid cross, one conclusion is drawn, which is law of independent assortment. Student, always remember, with dihybrid cross, we can also prove the two conclusions. With dihybrid cross, we can also prove the dominance, we can also prove the segregation. But with monohybrid cross, we cannot prove the law of independent assortment, because for proving the law of independent assortment, two characters are necessary. So this is all about the dihybrid cross. Now we will move to the next part.